It started with half a second, just a tiny, almost invisible lag. The kind your brain explains away before you even finish noticing it. I was in the hallway, putting on my shoes. Light from the ceiling lamp stretched my shadow along the wall beside me. I bent down to tie the laces. My shadow bent, too. I straightened, it straightened. Then I turned my head toward the door. And on the wall, my shadow turned first. It was so small a difference I almost convinced myself I imagined it. A flicker, a glitch of light. Old wiring, cheap bulbs, the usual excuses. I shook it off, went to work, forgot about it by lunch. But once you notice something wrong with your own shadow, you start watching. The next day, brushing my teeth, I stood in the bathroom facing the mirror. Light from the lamp above threw my shadow onto the wall behind me, a smudged dark double of my movements. I leaned in, spit, rinsed, straightened. Everything matched. I told myself to stop being weird. Shadows move when you move. That's just how things are. That's how they've always been. Then, right as I thought that, the shadow in the mirror turned its head. Mine didn't. My neck was still. My eyes were on my own reflection. But on the wall behind me, the dark outline of my head shifted, as if it had glanced sideways. Just a fraction. Just enough. My heart slammed once, so hard it made my vision twitch. I whipped around, too fast, making myself dizzy. The wall was blank. The shadow solid, steady, exactly where it should be. No movement. I stood there, waiting for something else, for anything. Nothing came. Just the hum of the fan, the drip of the faucet I keep forgetting to fix. Light, I told myself. Angle, you blinked. You're tired. That night, I turned every light off twice, checking the switches before going to bed. In the dark, shadows behave. They hide. They keep their distance. Morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been watched. That too long moment between sleep and consciousness where you're sure something is right above you. Leaning in, I opened my eyes. Just the ceiling. I got up, walked across the bedroom. The sun slipped around the edges of the curtains, enough to throw my shape onto the wall. My body moved. My shadow didn't. I froze mid-step. On the wall to my right, the patch of darkness shaped like me was still standing beside the bed, arms at its sides, head turned toward where I'd been, not where I was. I was 3 steps ahead of it. The air in the room felt suddenly too thin. Very slowly, I stepped back. 1, 2, 3. My real body returned to the position by the bed. The shadow was already there, waiting. I tried again, quick this time. Jump forward, spin, fling my arm out. My heart pounded in my throat. The shadow did nothing. It just stood on the wall in the exact same pose, like a sticker someone had slapped onto the paint and forgotten. I whispered, "What the hell?" The shadow tilted its head, just a few degrees, just enough to make every hair on my arms stand straight up. I stumbled backward, catching myself on the dresser. The motion yanked my gaze away. When I looked again, my shadow was back where it should have been, glued to my heels, matching my breathing. For a while, all day, I saw little things I couldn't unsee. On the sidewalk, my shadow's stride was just a fraction shorter than mine, like it had to think about stepping. In the office, as I reached for my coffee mug, my shadow's hand hesitated in midair before following. On the subway, when the train jerked, my body swayed before the dark smear on the floor remembered to obey. Every time, the delay got longer. By the time I came home that evening, the sun was gone. I turned on the lights as soon as I stepped through the door, more forcefully than I needed to. The apartment felt off. The kitchen light was on. I always shut it off before leaving. I check. It's a habit, like locking the door, like patting my pocket for my phone. But there it was, bright overhead, humming softly. The bowl on the table cast a neat oval of shadow onto the floor. I swallowed, my mouth suddenly dry. Maybe you forgot, I told myself. My voice sounded small in the empty air. I walked into the living room and stopped dead. The ceiling light was on here too, casting a pool of yellow over the rug. On the rug, stretched across the floor and up the side of the couch, was a shadow. My shadow. It was perfect. The outline of my head, my shoulders, my arms, my torso reclining like someone was lying on the couch, one arm slung over the back, one leg bent. Exactly how I sometimes collapse after a long day. Except the couch was empty. The shadow shouldn't have been there. Shadows come from something. There was no something. Just that dark, flat silhouette of me lounging in a place I wasn't. I should have run. Call someone. Turn everything off and go sit outside until the world made sense again. Instead, I stepped closer. With each step, my actual shadow from the overhead light followed me across the floor, a second version trailing my feet. That shadow, the normal one, behaved. It clung. It obeyed. The other one stayed where it was, still lying down, arms and legs arranged in a lazy, too familiar sprawl. It looked like I'd left a piece of myself behind when I left for work, and it had decided to keep relaxing without me. I stood at the edge of the rug, heart pounding hard enough I could feel it in my gums. Up close, it was even worse. The shadow wasn't just a smudge, it was sharp, detailed. The curve of my ear, the bump in my nose, the slight slope of my shoulders. The profile was unmistakable. The profile turned. The head in the shadow rotated, following me, even though the rest of the body stayed in that lounging position, like the neck had simply twisted too far. I took an involuntary step back. The lounging shadow swung its legs off the couch and stood up. No sound, no weight, just the shape rising, stretching onto the wall as it aligned its height with mine. It detached from the couch like it had never belonged to it. My own shadow, the real, one at my feet, trembled. It jittered on the floor like it was being tugged between two magnets. The standing shadow took a step toward me. It didn't have eyes, but I knew, as surely as I've ever known anything, that it was looking straight at me. Each movement was wrong, a fraction too slow, like lagging video, but relentless, purposeful. I tried to move back and found that my legs didn't want to listen. The shadow came closer, its feet sliding along the wall and floor. No texture, no detail except the outline. It walked toward my shadow, not toward my body, as if I was just an inconvenience it had to pass through. When they touched, there was no sound, no visible ripple, but I felt it. Ice. A cold hit me so deep it bypassed skin entirely and wrapped itself around my spine. It wasn't like stepping into a freezer. It was like something reached inside my chest and grabbed hold. My breath punched out of me. My knees buckled. For a second, everything tilted. The room went dim around the edges. I felt my own weight shift, but not because I moved, because something else did, inside me. The two shadows merged. On the floor, there was just one again, shaped exactly like me, moving exactly with me, just like before. I stumbled back until my shoulders hit the wall. My eyes darted around the room, searching for the extra one, the stray, the wrong version. Nothing, just normal darkness where it should be. I lifted my hand. My shadow lifted its hand instantly. No lag, no delay, perfect synchronization. Okay, I whispered to no one. Okay. I laughed. It sounded like it belonged to someone else. Everything looked right, but it didn't feel right. Inside my chest, behind my ribs, something sat like a stone dropped into a pool that never stopped sinking. Heavy in places that shouldn't feel heavy. My own limbs felt crowded, like there was a second pair trying to move them with me, ever so slightly out of sync. That night, I lay in bed with the light on, staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that shadow lounging on my couch, living my life without me. I saw its head turning before mine, its arm lifting a heartbeat late. At some point, I must have dozed off. I woke in the dark. The light was off. I was sure I'd left it on. The only illumination came from the street lamp outside, slipping through the thin gap in the curtains, casting a dull rectangle on the opposite wall. In that pale wash of light, my shadow was there, curled along the wall beside the bed. But I wasn't moving. My chest rose and fell. My fingers twitched on the blanket. I could feel my tongue against my teeth. The shadow didn't do any of that. It lay there, perfectly still, as if someone else were lying beside me. Separate, flat, watching. Slowly, my shadow's head turned toward me. I felt nothing move in my neck. Its mouth opened. It had no mouth. Shadows don't have mouths. But there was a notch, a difference in the darkness where my mouth would be, and it stretched too wide. Like a smile. My own lips stayed pressed together. My own jaw trembled. I couldn't move. Something inside me shifted, like a second heartbeat trying to sync up with the first. Like another pulse, a fraction late each time. By the time the sun rose, the shadow on the wall had blended back into mine. The extra outline was gone. Today, everything looks normal again. When I walk, my shadow matches me flawlessly. When I wave, it waves. When I turn my head, the dark outline on the wall turns at the same time. Perfect. But when I catch glimpses in glass, when I see myself reflected in the TV screen or in a black window at night, Sometimes my smile is just a little too wide. Sometimes my eyes keep staring a second longer after I've looked away. And when I stand still and really listen, I can feel it. Somewhere just beneath the surface of my skin, just under the movements I think I'm making, something else is moving too. Trying me on, like a suit.